When we look at this vast universe as humanity, we might think that there could be other beings different from us. Until today, we have talked with you about alien life and theories about their existence. But today, what I'm going to talk about will be about a different kind of existence. A theory about the existence of a hybrid race. Watch this video until the end because I will show important video recordings. Reptilians, also known among the public as lizard people. They are also called humanoid reptiles or draconian. According to the belief, they are a hybrid race that came from outside the world thousands of years ago and emerged by breeding with humans. Their existence dates back to ancient times, just like our ancestors depicted or drew what they saw on walls. If we take a closer look at what has been uncovered in archaeological excavations, we can see signs of an ancient reptilian race. Japan, Greece, Egypt, and South America may have hosted this race. Many of these structures that have been uncovered depict humanoid figures with lizard-like features. In some of them, the body resembles a human while the lower part consists of a tail, whereas in others, the skull and body look entirely like a humanoid reptile. But did they really live on our world? What's even more frightening is the possibility that they might still be living among us. Now we're going to focus on those possibilities. According to experts on the subject, reptilians used to live in caves. They had their own people there, and over time they came out of their caves. But in reality, the fact that there is no trace or evidence belonging to them is what makes this event mysterious. At this point, the only thing that comes to mind is that somehow they transformed into human form. In 2010, a 59-year-old person came to a hospital in Texas complaining of chest pains. When the specialist doctors examined the patient, they encountered an interesting situation. The patient had a 3-chambered heart, just like reptiles. Researchers assumed that this was a lost trait of our distant ancestors, a characteristic of a creature that is human-like but transforms into a reptilian form. According to them, when we look at human anatomy, we can see some of the features that suggest this assumption. Since the 1800s, tail-like protrusions have been observed in many people. These were even reported in medical journals. People with ichthyosis had dry, scaly skin. Some had fused fingers and claw-shaped hands. Were these anatomical abnormalities in us remnants from them? In 1945, a farmer found a clay jar while digging his field. What he found were manuscripts belonging to his ancient ancestors. These parchments, known as Nakamani, are believed to have belonged to the first Christians. But what's interesting is that some of these writings mention mysterious beings, and maybe this could explain the unknown parts of life as we know it. Among the Harshomen, there was mention of the Archons. Although there wasn't much information about what they were, the description given was definitely reptilian in appearance. Of course, people must have had a reason to believe in such a creature. One of today's leading conspiracy theorists, David Icke, put forward the claim in his 1999 book, The Biggest Secret, that some of the important people who rule the world are reptilians. These were important people. They were individuals who had reached certain positions and had talent. So much so that among them were those who started wars and led people astray because they hated humankind. According to belief, before Adam and Eve, the world belonged to them. Time passed and somehow their end came. Very few of them remained and retreated into caves. Some researchers point to the coming of Prophet Adam as a caliph to the world as evidence of this. Caliph comes from the root word successor. In its literal meaning, it refers to someone who comes after, someone who takes over the duty. For this reason, Prophet Adam's caliphate, which means the one who comes in place of another, indicates that there was another living species on Earth before him. Were they really the owners of the world before us? Now, we will look at some footage that is not quite normal. On a debate show on Consumer News and Business Channel, one of the guests' movements were quite strange. During the debate, this person in the white shirt suddenly gets angry and starts behaving strangely with his mouth.
It's opened up the market very, very well. Clarice, we have capitalism and we embrace it.
After making this hissing sound with his mouth, he suddenly tries to pull himself together, as if he realized that he had done something wrong. Of course, this was not a normal behavior. In another recording, a woman named Rochella says that she feels the presence of a being she believes to be extraterrestrial. The evidence for this was that she sometimes exhibited abnormal behaviors. One of the people who exhibited strange behavior is this one. We see that this person, who looked directly at the camera during the live broadcast, again made strange mouth movements. Strange enough that a normal person wouldn't do it. There are many recordings like this that have been captured on camera, and what they have in common is that they display behaviors that are not typical of humans. At this point, the conversation that everyone knows about Mark Zuckerberg during a speech was quite interesting.
But about you? There is, because you are human, and I am human. I am also human still.
At the beginning of the speech, he says this will bother you because you are human. Then, of course, he says that he is also human and tries to make up for it.
But I just recently
was talking about myself.
As if he let something slip for a moment. People make these kinds of recovery gestures when they say something wrong or accidentally reveal a secret. He doesn't need to say that he's human because, of course, we know that he's human. But for some reason, he feels the need to mention this detail. In another recording, I think while he was doing a live broadcast, he was asked, "Are you a reptilian?"
You're such a poor thing, Kutu. I have to say no to this. I'm not a Kutu. But high quality.
Of course, a person wants to say that and ask more serious questions than them. Of course, people asking him this question shows that they suspect him. But no matter how strange his behaviors and statements are, this does not show that he is the thing they suspect. Another debated topic is the snake eyes reflected on the cameras. In some videos on the internet, people's pupils were changing at certain intervals. Looking at this situation, it was discussed that those people were reptilians. So, should we have reached a definite conclusion just by starting from such a simple situation? The data I obtained after the research done and my own research allowed me to reach a conclusion about reptilians. When we look at the earliest depictions in all civilizations, the fact is that the lizard-shaped people we see are actually just legends. This belief in ancient times was depicted to represent the devil. Actually, this whole story is based on the serpent, which is a depiction of the devil. The serpent, known by people as the evil tempter, was eventually depicted as a whole with a human figure, so much so that it was a devil in the form of a serpent that tempted Prophet Adam to eat the forbidden apple. Humanity depicted the evil ones among them in this way. Over time, this belief led to different interpretations. After a while, these drawings they saw from their ancestors were associated with reality. And eventually, these drawings and structures that were originally used just for comparison became accepted as reality among people over time. Today, with the advancement of technology, this has been reinforced even more. In some records and footage, yes, there were people with snake-like eyes. However, these could be done with very simple editing. Some people describe what they saw in their dreams as if it were real, and he had completely convinced himself of this story. The reptilians became such a widespread story that we even started seeing them in movies. Characters from fantastic stories were also appearing before us. Sometimes we would mistake creatures we saw outside for reptilians, even though they weren't. Just like the legend of Bigfoot, which never actually existed, some people took advantage of this, came up with conspiracy theories, and reached thousands of people profiting from it. We had brought into our own reality a race we knew nothing about, whose fossils had never been found. Unfortunately, we embrace these kinds of stories because we want to believe that we are not alone in the universe. But the truth is just the truth. Stories can't change that. Actually, there's a saying that sums up the situation very well. A madman threw a stone into a well. 40 wise men couldn't get that stone out.